I'm Darren Karp, and joining me today is The Bachelor's newest host, the handsome Jesse Palmer. How you doing, Jesse? Good to see you again.
I'm feeling handsome. I got great lighting right now, great makeup. Yeah.
I didn't want to say it. It's obviously the lighting. You don't, I've seen you in the dark, and it's really not good. But Jesse, despite that, you are the new host of The Bachelor. How does that feel? Do you feel like you can command the presence to give out those roses and kind of break some hearts, or less, along the way?
Oh, the heartbreaking part is Clayton's now. I mean, that pressure is off me. I got to say, it is way less pressure hosting the show than actually being The Bachelor like I was back in 2004. No drama, no heartbreaking. You just sort of set the table, say a few words. This is the final rose of the evening. Please say your goodbyes. Clayton, it's been great. I've loved it. It's been super nostalgic. I've had this tidal wave of emotion every time I step back around the mansion and kind of watch Clayton do his thing. It's been great. And also, I think part of hosting this is being empathetic and sympathetic to the emotional roller coaster and kind of everything Clayton's going through. There's obviously only been a handful of people that have been in his shoes and sort of understand how difficult and challenging this can be at times. So I hope that the guidance and some of the advice I'm giving Clayton hopefully is helping him find what he ultimately wants. I don't know if I've ever met another person that wants to be in love more and wants to have a family.
I mean, honestly, he seems like such a good, wholesome dude who's really just, in his feelings and trying to be as honest as possible. I'm sure you're giving him advice along the way, but when it was announced that he was the Bachelor, did you reach out to him? Did you give him any advice on being the Bachelor? And what was that kind of number one piece of advice?
Yeah, so we actually set it up so that the very first time I met him was when he gets out of the limo and I see him in front of the mansion. I really wanted that moment to be real. I wanted it to be organic. And it's funny, like I've actually known Clayton. I've known of him for a long time. I've actually broadcasted his football games when he was at the University of Missouri. So like I've studied him, but I never actually met him until that very moment. And so a big part of this for me and for him, we want this to be real. We want this to be authentic. We want it to be organic. And the advice is pretty simple. One, don't forget any women's names. I know all about that on my season. Doesn't end well for anybody. And Clayton's been awesome.
We're never going to let you live that down, Jesse.
No. Funny how people just never want to forget that. And two, it was, hey, don't be lazy. And what I meant by that was just because you're the Bachelor, it doesn't guarantee any of these women have to or will fall in love with you. And you got to remember, the women didn't even know who he was until they get out of the limo, because his season with Michelle, it didn't even air until after we had already started shooting season 26. So he had to be intentional. He has to make an effort. You can't just sit back and wait and let all the women come and figure out who you are. You got to go after him, and you got to really put your best foot forward. He's been great at that. And then lastly, at least from my experience, you have to sort of take the lead. And what I mean by that is you want these women to open up and be vulnerable, which is really hard to do, especially early on in this kind of environment. A lot of the women are really scared. They just don't want to get hurt. They don't want to, they're cautious, peeling back the layers. And Clayton was nervous too, but if you want to have those things reciprocated, and if you want the women to go where you're hoping they go, and you're going to be surrendering yourself to the process, you sort of have to take the lead and set it by example. And I think that's another thing that Clayton's done pretty well at.
I was going to say, you might be the guy that maybe forgot a woman's name or said the wrong name, but Clayton might be the first Bachelor who ever got his first rose rejected. So, he's keeping up your legacy in some sort of way here. Hopefully he'll erase that memory for you, but I'm curious.
PTSD for years for him coming up.
Yeah, exactly. When you got the offer to be the host, why did you decide to say yes? I mean, do you really believe that people can find the love of their lives on The Bachelor? I mean, were you just kind of excited to watch other people's journeys that you had been through?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. After being the Bachelor, I kind of immediately became a part of Bachelor Nation and was watching along with everybody else. So I've been a huge fan of the show, watched a lot of Bachelors, Bachelorettes, Bachelor in Paradises. And I really do believe in the process. I really, really do. And again, having lived it, I know how unique and at times unreal it seems. 30 women dating one guy at the same time. Helicopters landing on yachts, then drinking champagne in a hot tub immediately after. It's James Bond stuff. Like that part is surreal. But if you can surrender to the process and really give in with no attachments, we've seen time and time again over 20 years of the show people coming together that are looking for the same thing, develop these beautiful love stories. Unfortunately, it didn't happen on my season, but because it didn't happen on mine doesn't mean it can't happen for other people. I see it happen every year. And so I am a big believer in that. And I want this more than anything for Clayton because I know how bad he wants it too. And Clayton believes, and I believe this is an amazing environment for him to be in, as hard as it can be at times. This can take him where he wants to go, finding love, finding his person.
I've been watching the franchise since the beginning, and something I've kind of noticed, at least in the past, I don't know, 5-6 years, and this is probably due to social media, is that it's kind of hard to tell who's there for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons. Why do you think that is? Why is it hard to kind of siphon those people out?
It's tough. And I think there's a lot of different quote unquote wrong reasons today. I mean, when I did the show, to your point, there was no social media. I don't even think we had camera phones. I'm dating myself, but it's like there was really, I mean, I had my dream job. I was playing in the NFL. I wasn't using this as a platform to do anything else. I just wanted to play football. And when the show was over, I went right back to the locker room and we got started on the 2004 New York Football Giants season. I think today it is a lot trickier. I think the hardest part for Clayton and for a lot of leads, be it Bachelor or Bachelorettes, is kind of having that radar and that ability to sort of detect any of that. It's tough. On my season, the hardest part to cope with for me was self-doubt. When you think you're picking the right women and all of a sudden you learn something about one of them that all of a sudden sets off bells and alarms and whistles, and you're going, wait a minute, are they using this for something? Is she really that into me? Did I send the wrong person home? And you start doubting yourself. That's, I think, the trickiest part and the toughest part. And you know, for you that has watched the show a lot, and me as well, I think it's kind of a common theme. Clayton sort of right now is kind of entering that space a little bit, finding out about Cassidy. What's he going to do with this rose now? Is he actually going to take it back in the third episode and do something no one else has ever done before? You know, we're going to wait and see, but you know, he's kind of living that conundrum and that perplexity that you're talking about right now.
As you mentioned, you know, you guys didn't even finish filming Michelle's season before you already started, or the audience didn't get to finish Michelle's season before you already started with Clayton. So the ladies didn't really get familiar with him. And even as an audience member, as a fan, I'm kind of rediscovering Clayton in this whole new depth. In your opinion, as someone who's been the Bachelor, but now hosting it, what makes Clayton such a good Bachelor, especially after getting to know him, you know, throughout these weeks on the show?
Totally. Genuine, sincere, great values, super humble and super appreciative of this opportunity. But I think what separates Clayton from most, and I would say this myself personally, just based on the people I know in my life, I don't know if I've ever met someone that wants to be married or have a family as badly as Clayton does. And I think, you know, I remember watching him on Michelle's season and you know, you're kind of watching the first several episodes and you get a little bit of Clayton, you don't get a ton. So you never really get deep enough to find out who he is. When he breaks down and cries talking about how badly he wanted kids, that really sort of, to me, was an aha moment. And then getting to know Clayton and getting to find out kind of who he is and what he's about. I think the reason I put so much pressure on myself to help him this season is because I know how badly he wants this. Yeah. There's no ulterior motive for Clayton. He's not trying to grow Instagram followers. I doubt he's going to be on Dancing with the Stars. He just wants to find his person and start a life yesterday. And he's under a lot of pressure. He really, like that first night when the women all got out of the limo. I mean, I remember we made eye contact and you could see on his face, he was like, like she's here. And with that came his hopes and the optimism and everything. And so I just think how genuine and sincere he is and how badly he wants this, I think makes him a perfect choice to be the Bachelor.
I have to admit, he does seem so authentically just sweet in so many ways. What do you think his Achilles heel is?
Well, he's maybe a bit naive. And what I mean by that is, so he's never watched the show before Michelle's season, never saw it. Wow. So he doesn't really get the ebbs and flows and you know what I mean? Like he's like the first night I have to this is the first impression rose. Here's what you're going to do with it. You're going to go inside. You know, it's like you really sort of have to hold his hand through the process. Clayton has so many great core values. He's a small town guy, and he's now met this incredible and diverse cast of women that has just completely blown him out of the water. And he's now going to have to navigate this and have to really, really trust himself and his own gut instinct. He gets some advice from me, but at the end of the day, this is his ball game. And there's just so much riding on this, again, because he knows what's at stake, and this is his chance. So, you know, he wears his emotion on his sleeve, and I think that's beautiful. I think the women are going to know it. They know exactly where he stands. But does he know where they stand along the way too? That's going to be the chess game for him, and, you know, trying to navigate on this journey.
What's kind of your role with Clayton? I mean, obviously you're there to support Clayton in any decision that he wants to make, but is he coming to you and saying, do you think Shanae is not here for the right reasons? Are you being honest about that? How do you kind of play the friend, mentor, host role? Yeah,
great question. You know, I think what I've told Clayton from the beginning is that his journey is his journey. It's different than mine, different from every other Bachelor there's ever been. What I want to do is, my job is to be there for him. It's the pressure I feel. I know how bad he wants it. I want to help him find love and find his person. And I need to be empathetic and sympathetic to this roller coaster he's going on, having lived part of it myself, and just offer the advice when I can to try to help him. He's going to have to make a lot of decisions on his own, a lot of really, really tough ones, obviously. The thing I learned about Clayton very early on in this process, which I really, really appreciate, Clayton's not afraid to ask for help. I think men today, especially former football players, we're taught to internalize everything and just handle it and deal with it ourselves. And under any circumstance, never show weakness and never show negative emotion when you're lost. Clayton, I give him so much credit. He is so good at stopping down and looking for help and asking for help. Has anyone ever taken a rose back? He could have just kind of played it out and been like, oh, whatever, she can just keep it. I just won't say anything. It'll be weird and awkward. And then I'll figure it out the next episode in our next group date or one-on-one date. I'll try to get to the bottom of it. He's not wasting time. He's not messing around. He came and found me. He wants to know if there's a precedent for it. Can I do it? What do you think? You know, we'll have that conversation in episode 3. And that's really sort of my I think that's what my job is to offer the guidance and support. But also, if this thing goes sort of off the beaten path in any way, which it is going to more and more and more as the season goes on, it's all of our first time now going there, because he's already done things that I never did. And so my job is just to kind of be there for him and sort of help him through those.
The drama with Shanae and Cassidy, were you kind of aware of what was going on at the time, or is it surprising now to you kind of watching back the episodes and realizing kind of the nuance with all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew what was going on at the time. I knew that there was some stuff happening. I didn't have any idea how into the weeds it gets, obviously. And that's the thing. Like, you know, some of it's going to happen, obviously. You don't know if it's ever going to really boil over, or if it's something that the women can handle themselves, or will Clayton go in and just try to squash it immediately. We've seen it lead all different ways in years past and on different seasons. When you go back and when you actually kind of see it on air, though, you see how and oftentimes it's a bigger deal than you thought in the moment.
It definitely seems that way. There definitely seems to be a lot of weight to it. How is this season, outside of you being the host and this kind of being your first time in that host role, how is this season of The Bachelor different than any other season?
I think the theme this season, and we sort of touched on it, is that on The Bachelor, there are no rules. Clayton is willing to do whatever it takes to find his person. And I kind of mentioned to you before, he never watched the show before Michelle's season. He doesn't care what I did. He doesn't care what Matt did. He doesn't care the precedents that's been set before. He doesn't care the steps that normally get taken, how many roses are supposed to get given out at this rose ceremony. Clayton will do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants to do it. People are going to find that out. And he will take chances and he'll take risks to find his person. There are going to be moments that people at home are going to be absolutely blown away. It'll be eye-opening. There will be multiple things. You've seen some of them in the first 2 episodes, but there is so much more coming that people have never seen in 20 years watching The Bachelor. That's where this thing is going. Yeah, people always say it's the most dramatic season.
Yeah.
I know it's my first hosting, so it's like, of course you're going to say it. This is the most dramatic season ever. I've watched the others. This is the most dramatic season ever.
Well, before I let you go, Jesse, can we expect Clayton to walk away finding love?
Let's all hope so. We have to tune in. We have to tune in away. I can promise people this. He wants it as much as anyone ever. He is so hopeful and excited for this opportunity. He believes this person's there. And again, he's going to do, remember I said this, he's going to do whatever it takes to do that.
He definitely
we have to wait and see. He does. He does deserve this opportunity. Yeah.
Jesse, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so happy you're hosting, and I can't wait to see more of you and see if Clayton actually does find love and what he's willing to do. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course. Great talking to you again. Thank you.
People, you can get new episodes of The Bachelor every Monday at 8/7 Central on ABC.